Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Wright. I'm a landscape photographer working out of Granada. Now, unbelievably, I've just recorded this intro with no sound at all, so forgive me if I look a little perplexed. I'm just literally this moment back from a trip to the Tabernas Desert, where I took some photographs this morning. And it was a wonderful trip, wonderful location, and we'll be doing a video down there soon. But today I want to talk about frequency separation. Frequency separation is a really useful technique that is not available in every photo editor. I learned this technique originally in Photoshop, where it was something of a battle. Quite complex, quite a lot of steps involved, and I'm going to demonstrate it using Affinity Photo. Now, Affinity Photo frequency separation is much easier because it's been built into a filter that you can simply apply. So none of the steps preparing it are relevant, but the steps of actually that I'm going to describe in this video are exactly the same as the steps in Photoshop that you do after you've created your frequency separation layers. Now, I'm going to give a quick overview of what frequency separation actually is, and we'll be revisiting this in the video. What you're doing in a nutshell is you're separating a single pixel layer, so if you like a single image with all of the information in that image, into two separate layers, one high frequency, one low frequency. And what those layers contain is the high frequency layer is on the top of the stack, and this contains basically information about the structure and texture of the photograph. So outlines, edges, those sorts of characteristics. There is a little color information, but not very much. So it appears to be like literally like a photograph seen through a gauze filter. The low frequency layer is all to do with color. And you can obviously carry out operations on those layers. You can mask the layers, you can do anything you want. You can use the clone tool within those layers in order to shift things around. But if you think, I've talked a lot about lateral thinking on this channel. If you use your lateral thinking, if you've never come across frequency separation, you'll realize that the implication of being able to clone color in an image, and the information and the idea of cloning structure and edge information separately to color information is very interesting. So we can use this for a number of different uses. The ones that I'm going to demonstrate in this video include sharpening. It includes the Orton Effect. The Orton Effect, just to explain, is an effect whereby you bring a soft light, a soft glow into high-lit areas of a photograph. It's quite popular in landscape photograph and really enables us to enhance things like sunsets, for example. The last use, which is actually the use that I discovered frequency separation for in Photoshop many years ago, is the removal of complex sun flare in a shot. So we've all been there, we've taken a shot into the sun or approximately into the sun, and we haven't been able to mask off the incoming light so that it bounces around inside of the lens, inside the camera, and it produces circular areas that are usually shades of yellow, green, sometimes purple, in the photograph, and they're quite unsightly. Actually, some people, there are filters that will enable you to introduce sun flare into a picture, but I personally find it extremely distracting. I don't like it in my pictures, and I do my best to get rid of it. Now, frequency separation is absolutely perfect for that particular use because If you use the clone tool to get rid of complex flare that covers areas of different texture and so on, using the clone tool is next to useless, because you'll very quickly introduce repeated patterns and so on and so forth. It's very, very complicated to do with the clone tool. Doing it with frequency separation means you only have to clone the colour, so that, if you like, the background of the picture remains the same, and you're literally cloning out the areas where you've got colour frequencies that are effectively wrong in the picture. So let's get on with it. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, here we've got a picture of some fairly sort of random woodland, and what we want to do is to make some areas of this picture sharper. And there are a couple of different ways of doing this. We can use the unsharp mask, so we can come here, we can go to sharpen, we use the unsharp mask, radius, bring up the factor, and what we see here is, well, two things. One is that this is a global edit. Now we can fiddle around with masks and so on to see if we can apply this in parts, but it gets to be very fiddly. And if we just increase this, the problem with the unsharp mask is in unskilled hands it can get really horrible really quickly. So I've never been a massive fan, I have to say. So cancel out of that. Now, come back to our original. Right, we've now got a duplicate of our original layer. In that layer we can apply a frequency separation filter, and we'll bring this filter up, because what we want to see is the detail. So we're going to increase the radius of the filter, and you can see if we take it all the way, you've got, not only have we got the sort of the borders, we've also got quite a lot of colour information in there, which we don't really need. But let's bring it up to there, because that should be enough for us to just subtly highlight certain areas. So we'll apply that. Now here we turn the low frequency off, so our high frequency is now applying to the entire thing, but it does look more realistic even like that. I'm going to apply a mask to it. Okay, Command I gives us black, so black conceals, white reveals. If we do Command I again in there, that's our sharpened piece. That's our unsharpened piece. I can just turn off my low frequency, which I've done, take my paintbrush, white reveals, and let's say it's this area that we want to bring out. And we're just subtly drawing your attention to this area of the tangle. So we can do this, we can okay, and suddenly this picture is beginning to look a little bit more sensible, so let's just get these as well. Okay, and there immediately you've got your sharpened, selectively sharpened picture very, very quickly indeed. Okay, so yeah, back to the studio. Okay, so that was sharpening. I've found this to be quite useful. I'm not sure that this was the thing that frequency separation was designed to do, but it is in fact, you know, a perfectly valid use of it. Let's now have a look at the Orton effect. Okay, so we're starting back with the original raw file. Here we go. We're going to duplicate the raw file for a start. That's that one, and we're going to bind some effects into this. We want to warm this picture up, so I'm going to add a couple of adjustment layers. So we're going to go white balance. Warm this up a bit. You want to give it a little bit more than that. That's probably about as good as we're going to get there. Close that. We're going to add another adjustment layer here. We'll go for selective colour, and I'm just going to fiddle around with this a bit so we can bring this out more. So I'm going to take a bit of cyan away from that, add a bit of magenta, not too much, and yellow, make it a little bit more intense. And we're going to play with the yellow channel as well. Okay, so we don't want to overdo this, so keep that fairly subtle. Keep it fairly warm. Okay, so that's getting a little bit more like it. Now we're going to blend these layers together. So merge selected. Okay, so any layer we put above this one now is going to work on this layer only. Okay, so we're going to go back to a frequency separation layer, and this time we're going to bring this up to around about 20 pixels. Okay, and we change this one to linear light, so that's my top layer, and I'm just going to back off the blending a little bit. So we want to bring in a little bit of blur here, a little bit of softness, and then with my low frequency channel I can duplicate that, and I can change this blending mode to, I think, soft light, and I'll just take that one down a little as well. And you can see now that we've got this beautiful golden glow into the scene. Now this is good, so we can group these together. And call this Orton Effect. Okay, so that was a bare bones demonstration of the Orton Effect. So without any other distractions, I've demonstrated how you would make the horizon in a sunset photograph, give it that soft glow, that slightly out of focus characteristic, which can really enhance the picture. You can use this, of course, in more complicated photographs with a lot more detail, and it's simply a case of effectively masking the effect out. So you add a mask to your layer and you mask the effect in or out of the photograph, depending which way you want to approach it. Okay, let's now have a look at removing sun flare. This was the one that got me really excited about frequency separation. I think you'll find this is quite spectacular. Okay, so here we've got a picture with really acute lens flare. I mean, this picture is basically unusable because of this. And we're going to use the frequency separation method to remove this lens flare. So, first thing we do, duplicate this layer. And in the duplicate layer, what we're going to do is to apply a frequency separation filter. And what that has done is give us high frequency view, which if you look very closely, you can see the edges in the picture. So this is the detail view. And it's given us a low frequency view there. Now it's applied already a blur to this, and what we want to do is to make that blur sort of more blurry. I'm going to take that up to 10% and we'll just apply that. Okay, and you can see that what's happened here is that it's put these turned that one copy layer into two new layers, one high frequency, one low frequency. So we could, if we wanted to, call one of them color and call the other one detail. And we could also put them into a group, put them into a folder. And there they are there, and we'll just call this group sun flares. Okay, now what we do here is we leave the detail layer alone, because that's providing us, if we just isolate that, that's providing us with our outline. There's the sun star, here's the lines of the obelisk, and detail of the grass and so on here. And we're going to work on the color layer. So I'm going to turn all the layers back on, select the color layer, and we're going to blow this up a bit. So let's just increase that. And what we're going to do here, let's take this really bad one at the bottom. And we're going to use the clone brush tool. We want it to be reasonably big at first. Take my hardness down to 66 or so. Flow 100%. I'm going to do this sort of quite quickly. So first of all, we'll start with taking the color of the grass. So we'll take a sample that, and then we just go and we paint the grass in. Okay, and here we're going to do the same thing with the colour of the obelisk. Paint that in there. Then we're going to blow this up a little bit more. And you can see how blurry this is. And let's make this a little bit smaller, so we can get into the detail of it. Choose our option there. So remember, this is just taking the colour. And we're just going to paint this area green. Okay, we might want to actually resample that bit because it's quite dark. So let's find a better place there. That's going to give us a better blend. It's going dark again, we'll go back up. Remember, we're just taking the colour, so this is where the advantage of this method shows. Okay, take that down there. Okay, we'll probably get away with that, we can go over that more carefully, but and here we're doing exactly the same thing here, just to get rid of this here until, and we can repeat this process, just refine it all the way through. Now it's conceivable that we might have a little bit of grey grass and a little bit of, but of not. Okay, and let's have a look at that at full size. Okay, and you can see that that, to all intents and purposes, has removed that completely. And there is no way that you would do that just with the cloning tool, because you'd lose all of your texture that we've managed to maintain here. So if you think about that, it was this area that we've replaced. If you'd cloned, say, this, you would have got a very easily identifiable copy of those marks down here. Let's just, for the sake of completeness, we'll go over this here. Again, very important to go in on the colour, and we'll take our sample from, take the size of this brush up. Okay, we'll take our sample from down here. We're just going to take that out. And I think we'll just take that one out as well. Can't quite reach that one. Okay, and this one, just take that out. Okay, and this area here would require a bit of more refined work. And you can see immediately how much difference this has made. And we can carry on working on this area up here. Getting your head around frequency separation is not the easiest thing, but it is very effective. So if this has been useful, give us a like down below, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a lot more videos about Photolab, about Affinity Photo. These are the tools that I use most frequently in my photography, and we're going to be introducing more photographs about camera techniques and location-based photographs, showing off some of the locations that we've got in Spain. So hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye now.